yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, and not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
So as you can tell, I would say about a dozen times over the past 2 years. I met Jeannie, who is an excellent woman, one of the most excellent women we have in Illinois, by sending her unsolicited a copy of our dossier. I run a nonprofit research group called Marco Polo, and I was sending copies of the dossier to everybody I admire in Illinois, and Jeannie is up there. You know, all this talk about Pritzker reminds me of Jeannie's run in 2018, and she almost beat Rauner. You wonder if that election was free and fair, because the margins were extremely close, and she lost to Rauner in the primary. And obviously, I got to know her from afar through that, and then our work through Marco Polo. So I'm filling in for my friend Jeannie. She had a death in the family. She's originally, as you know, from South Dakota, and we have an interesting program this evening. Ron Scott, who is along with being a retired colonel in the U.S. Air Force, is the uncle of the laptop shop owner. When I mean the laptop shop, I mean the place where Hunter Biden drunkenly dropped off a MacBook Pro, along with, and we're going to be talking about I would call it quasi-seditious, because they were on purpose very ambiguous. These congressmen, senators, telling them to basically ignore what they perceived to be illegal orders, and of course they didn't explicate what orders of President Donald Trump's were illegal. I think it's just to sort of sow dissent within the general class. And so basically we have a section of our Congress that doesn't believe in the civilian control of the military, essentially. So Ron Scott's going to be discussing that. Shaun Thompson, obviously, from Florida, he's a longtime guest of the program, Shaun Thompson. He's going to be talking about property tax and their effort to do away with it in Florida. It's radical in the best sense of the word. I have a lot of questions about that and the particulars. I'm a nerd, and I think that's why Jeannie likes me. I'm very ignorant about the mechanics of that and how they're going to make up for some of the lost revenue. Obviously, I'm a fan of it and in support of it. I think I have a lot to learn, and I think a lot of people do as well, because that vote is coming up. The first guest, though, that I didn't meet until today. I know a mutual friend of ours very well. His name is Jed McFadder, and obviously I've known of his work for a while, but our mutual friend Seamus Bruner, a colleague of his, put us together, and they are knee-deep in a to-be 5-part series on CCP infiltration within not just the urban centers of the United States like New York City and Chicago, but the heartland, further deeper into flyover country, as liberals derisively call it. So we have Shaun Thompson, Ron Scott, Jed McFadder, and of course the last folks are the Edgar County Watchdogs. They're obviously from downstate Illinois. I admire him a great deal, just like I admire Jeannie, which is why I'm honored that she called me from the bullpen today to help fill in. I've only guest hosted one other program before. I did a week-long stint in Washington this past May for One American News. Chanel Ryan was, I think, graduating from law school or had some type of trip. I guest hosted there for a week. This is a little bit like sparkling water. It's an acquired taste. You get better as time goes on. I think I lost a little bit of the momentum that I gained in May, so hopefully I gain it back by the end of 9 p.m. But if you're wondering about the Chiron, about the title for the program, two subtopics tonight are, of course, it's Thanksgiving on Thursday, a very American festival, a uniquely American festival. And I wanted to read a portion of the MayFlower Compact on air tonight, not right now, but in a little bit. Of course, the MayFlower Compact was the very first thing that they did, even before they hit land, really. They were in the lower portion of the ship, and these guys basically, pledged their honor to create a, quote, civil body politic. And I wanted to contrast that with these basically feral folks in Minnesota using aid to then funnel that back to Al-Shabaab, which is just one of the plethora of Islamic terror groups. It's unbelievable to say out loud that basically our own government is funding Al-Shabaab, but I think it's just a jarring contrast. You have the language in the MayFlower Compact, and you have, names like John William, Edward William, Isaac, Miles, John, Francis, James, John. Go down the list, and I wanted to give a shout out to one of my ancestors. I am a MayFlower baby, but he came over as an indentured servant, but his name did make the list. He's the second to last one, Edward Doty. I'll talk about him. But I wanted to contrast that with the just pure degeneracy that is going on in some sections of Minneapolis. And I want to, remind everybody of the bullet that we dodged last November with Tim Walz losing. So they've already indicted, by the way, 6 people in Minneapolis over this money laundering scheme. It's in the millions. But just remember that the jurisdiction where this is occurring is overseen by Tim Walz, who was going to be our vice president. I mean, this is the bottom of the barrel stuff. These are, not only are they using funds meant for autistic kids, that's how decrepit these folks are. They're not only stealing the money meant for autistic kids in many cases, they're then giving that to a terrorist organization. So, in key ways, it's really embarrassing. I'm getting I get secondhand embarrassment when I read the story because it's such a meme. You have, autism earmarked funds going to Al-Shabaab, which before this program, I didn't know too much about the group, meaning its size, composition, location, but all that is online. And I would urge you to go look up, there are about 24 of these. The president just today announced, I would argue very wisely, on True Social that he's going to designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. It's a long time coming. Should have happened in 2017. They nearly ruined Egypt. And again, the argument is not that everybody who's a Muslim cannot subscribe to the U.S. Constitution. That's not it, obviously. However, there is a subsection of that, we'll call them faith community, although that's a stretch of the word faith, of that faith community that does not believe in a perfect world, the separation of the church and state, in that there is no really civil authority. In every regime that they run, there's really no meaningful distinction between the civil and the ecclesiastical. Of course, this is foreign to us for 500 years. So again, we cannot let these people have any position of authority in our society, obviously. That's like the first thing. And secondly, can't let them steal our money. And that's what they're doing. So I wonder if Jed is called in yet. He is at the Government Accountability Institute, obviously acronyms GAI. If you can go on their website, I urge you to do so. Very rich detail for PIs and investigators and lawyers. It's a great website. They got the domain name g/a/i.org. It's based out of Tallahassee. The name that you'll recognize the most out of this group is Peter Schweizer. And I know Peter and I know Seamus, and that's how I got to know Jed and his work, not only on CCP infiltration in Chicago and Minneapolis, but also he put out a book with co-author Susan Crabtree earlier this year on what I call really the Patrick Bateman of American politics, namely Gavin Newsom. I mean, he's absolute sociopathic figure in California that is nearly ruining that state. And Newsom has lied about small stuff, like him getting recruited into a college baseball team. He's lied about the dumb stuff. It's like Joe Biden. Joe's lied about everything under the sun. In our book, which is How I Met Jeannie, which is really the genealogy of how I'm filling in tonight, is basically we went through all of Joe Biden's life, and he's lived in an era of human history where a lot of this is written in ink and it's able to be found on the internet. Gavin Newsom's even further along. And so, they've pointed out all of his lies. So we'll talk to Jed after we get back.
Scott Jennings explains the differences between right and left.
It has been maddening to me to see the Democratic Party, the liberal movement, the radical progressives, turn on Israel over the last couple of years. What distinguishes us from the radical left? The ability to tell the difference between right and wrong.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hut, hut. Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
You know, I couldn't stop talking about it to my family and friends. My knees are my trouble spot. But for me to tell them now that I'm doing so much better, they were amazed, and I've been amazed.
QC Kinetics Cellular Therapies. Yes, it is amazing how these non-surgical treatments deliver joint pain relief for patients like Dr. Eric Williams, a successful chiropractor.
Each week, I just started noticing that I could sleep and not have pain. I could play pickleball. I could do a CrossFit exercise routine.
QC Kinetics revitalizes your joints so you can move again without the pain pills or invasive surgery.
You know, I'm 60 years old and I want to stay competitive as long as I can. And QC has allowed me to do that. They did me right and really made a difference in my life.
Book your free consultation with QC Kinetics today and experience the difference for yourself.
I like to go, move, move, move.
QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. 312-827-6261.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Good evening. This is Garrett Ziegler filling in for Jeannie Ives. We have my first guest, Jed McFadder, on the line. I met him, as I mentioned, through Seamus Bruner, who works with Peter Schweizer. And the Government Accountability Institute is based out of Tallahassee. They do work that nobody else in the country is doing. I'm deeply interested in this topic, Jed. And I appreciate you coming on tonight to talk about your multi-part series. I noticed that this goes all the way back to March, and I'm kicking myself, man, because I didn't read the first two pieces when these first came out, March 28th. I read the October piece, obviously, but this is deeply important, I think, because they burrow in like termites, and what the Mandarin characters, how they translate into the United States, is they always use such flowery language. And if you look at this at first blush, you're wondering how anybody could be opposed to this. They always want a harmonious future and people working together, and they always use this phrase win-win. It's one of the few English phrases a lot of these Chi-Coms use, win-win. So tell us some background of the multi-part series, how you got to know Seamus, and then at the end of the segment, I want to talk about your book, too.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on there. I appreciate it. Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the way this got started, well, Seamus and I we work together, so he works right down the hall from me, so I see him every day. And so that's how I know him. We've worked together for about 7 years now.
That's a long time.
Oh, that's a long time, right. We worked on a lot of Peter Schweizer's books, together, and he was helpful too, and kind of helping me get this deal with this book that I just worked on.
Yes.
But this basically the way this particular 3-part series came about, I guess we didn't know it was going to be a 3-part series. I think there's going to be another.
Yeah, at the bottom, I should have mentioned. I read 5 in one place, but at the bottom of the third part released October 18th, 2025. And again, everybody, and this is going to be clipped and recorded, but everybody right now can go to g-a-i.org to look at what we're looking at. It's very long. These are thousands of words. And I'm, as a nerd, I love this. I love digging into it. It said that part 4 is going to be another joint investigation delving deeper into Vincent Marr's involvement in the CCP's global surveillance network. So going back to the part 1 in March of this starting out, what spurred this? And I want to get more eyeballs on this.
Sure. So what spurred it is there was some reports that came out in 2023 that said that the FBI had busted what they called a secret Chinese police station in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. Right. It was being used to intimidate or harass like Chinese dissidents, surveil people. It was involved in some propaganda, and what it said is this Chinese secret police station was being, I guess, run by the Chinese Communist Party's United Front Work Department. And the United Front, basically what it is a group of like entities, associations, groups, and even bureaus in China, everything. They all work together, to do things like surveillance of the Chinese diaspora, or to spread CCP propaganda, or to try to neutralize what they consider lies about the CCP, right? Mm-hmm. That's what, and it's also involved in the legal transfer of technology in different ways, espionage. So that's what they do.
And so these entities, sorry for interrupting, but these entities, they have a spigot of cash, basically state-backed capital, right? Money is no issue to them. Like they're probably a line item in the state council's budget.
Right. Yeah. A lot of them are. Right.
Meaning they're not looking at profit and loss. They look at profit and loss as a passé Western white man's idea. Right.
Yeah. It's
fascinating.
Definitely no obstacle for what they want to do. Right. And what we noticed then was this same group, this Chinese police station in Manhattan, it was also on this list that was discovered or was put out. I think it was by Safeguard Defenders, a group in 2023 that listed this police station in a list of I think 7 or 8 places in the U.S. that they said the Chinese government had set up what they called overseas Chinese service centers, and one of these locations was this place in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And so that's what led us to look there and to see, is there something kind of like what we saw in Manhattan? Is there something going on in Minnesota that's similar? And so that's where we started in, the part one. We found just from one single like brick building, right? Mm-hmm. There was a web of like pro-Xing nonprofits.
Yes.
And this is from a single brick building right there in St. Paul. A web of nonprofits that were collaborating with the United Front, and we could trace them directly back. And some of these, the leaders of some of the groups of these organizations, they're embedded in like political circles here in the U.S., like raising money and fundraisers for people like Tim Walz and other people, and also getting, certain government benefits in terms of loans or tax breaks for their companies, things like this. But when we started looking further, we realized like, okay, what are some things that are similar maybe that might make this resemble like a secret police station? And what we found was that the director of this Chinese Overseas Service Center is what it's called. And some of these, I know these are going to be some long names or acronyms I'm going to mention here, but you can find them in the articles, like what they stand for.
Yeah,
but,
and at first blush, who the heck can object to an overseas service center? It sounds like some place where a foreign country, helps people with their visas and stuff. That's part of the con, is that it looks benign from the outside.
Right, it does. It does look benign, and they did do things. It was actually done through, the consulate in Chicago, the Chinese consulate in Chicago.
Minutes from here. That's where we're based out of tonight, Chicago.
Right. And so the guy who was set up, and leaders from the Chicago consulate were there when they set this up, to be the overseas service center. They did do things like help process visas and other documents, but they also have like an official WeChat account for that region that requires them to sign in and get all these services. So it allows them then to track what they do through the WeChat. You see what I mean?
Of course. Now, where can listeners and viewers view this list? There's an aforementioned list. You said there were 7 or 8. If they want to follow up, I
think I have it linked in there. But if not, if they were to look up Safeguard Defenders and Overseas Chinese Service Center, OCSC, there was some reports. There's a lot of reporting about it, and I do link it in one of the links.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the URL. It's on me. I should have had the URL pulled up before we got connected. To investigators like us, once we find one nugget of PII, man, it's game on. What I mean by that is once we have one address, then it's like a feast for us, meaning we can find everybody tied to that address in LexisNexis. I mean, that's how we identify pretty much every single prostitute and pimp for Hunter Biden is once we had a phone number, we found their Venmo. And once you get in somebody's Venmo, you can find who they're paying, who their landlord is, who their parents are. So tell the audience about that process of what tools did you use? Because I want them to be able to look if these people, these termites, and I mean that in the best sense of the term, meaning burrowing in. I'm using that as an analogy. These termite-like people are in their backyard. I want them to be able to look these things up.
Right. Okay. Well, so basically, you said, talking about addresses, just from this one address that we found, right? We found located there, multiple. When I say multiple, like 6 to 7 Chinese American associations, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them that we were able to trace back and show were kind of branches of like the Chinese Communist Party's United Front group, right? But then we also found, and we mentioned this in part 2, and I'll skip to that because it's interesting. Registered to the same address, right there in Eustis Street. Okay, it's anybody can go find it. They also was registered a company called it's called HTL International Corporation. That's the U.S. name, but it's registered at the exact address, 1399 North Eustis Street, right? It's
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yeah, and so it's actually registered there, And this company, to just give you an example of what this company is, HTL, it's basically it describes itself on their website, and I have a screenshot of it on this second article. Describes itself as one of the only comprehensive transport and logistic companies that's PRC certified to ship Class 1 dangerous goods, such as explosives. It's also one of the only two Chinese entities that has authority to conduct their own quality checks of import-export. So they don't have to pass the normal customs. And
they don't have to pass our customs.
Partners, it's crazy. Their strategic partners, three of the companies, are banned in the U.S. because of their involvement with the Chinese military. So that's registered directly inside the same building. But also registered in that same building are adult care centers, daycare centers, even like Somali-owned like daycare centers are somehow registered at this same address.
So some of that dirty money will link to these addresses too.
It may, and that would be an interesting angle.
I'm gonna send this talk to everybody I know in Minnesota. It's an embarrassment for them. Hey, I wish we had more time. Chalk it up to my being a sophomore with regard to hosting shows. Hopefully we can talk again about this. But my main purpose, Jed, is to get people to go to the site, read your multi-part series. I know how many dozens of hours it took you to do this, so I appreciate it. Thanks for the time tonight.
I heard some of the earlier topics. If you're ever interested in talking about some of the funding for CARE and stuff like that, let me know, because I've done some work on that.
Yeah, CARE is a cesspool too. Yeah. So, hey, thank you very much. Talk soon. Thanks again, Seamus, if you're listening, for setting this up. Godspeed.
Thanks.
Live tour. Enter to win tickets and the grand prize of a 75-inch TV, a home stereo system, and a $1,000 gift card. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/TSO.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Expect crowded roads this week.
AAA projects at least 73 million people will travel by car. That's nearly 90% of Thanksgiving travelers this year, and that number could rise if some people get fed up with, flight delays and travel cancellations.
Fox's Christina Coleman. TSA is expecting to screen close to 18 million air travelers during the holiday. U.S. and Ukrainian officials both sounding optimistic after discussing a peace plan to end the war with Russia.
We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now point by point, and I think we've made good progress.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there's still work to do and meetings will continue. Both sides describing today's talks highly productive. America is listening to Fox News.
Voice for the new right, charting a new path forward for American conservatism. It's the Josh Hammer Show.
What is the alternative to engaging with your political opponents, to hearing out their criticism in as happy warrior-like fashion as you can have it? The day that we replace that with, God forbid, with violence, that's how republics die. There is nothing good down that road.
The Josh Hammer Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
When we lose a pet, we lose a member of the family. The house feels quieter, the leash hangs by the door, and our hearts ache for that unconditional love. At Cozy Acres Pet Cemetery and Crematory, they understand that feeling because they're pet owners too. Since 1981, family-owned Cozy Acres has helped other families say goodbye with dignity, respect, and compassion. Whether you choose burial or cremation, your pet is handled gently, with the same care you gave them every day of their life. They'll guide you through every step of this difficult time, so you can have peace of mind knowing your beloved companion is in good hands. Cozy Acres Pet Cemetery, a final act of love for your faithful friend. Cozy Acres is proudly family-owned, proudly American, and proud to support the values we all share on AM 560 The Answer. Visit cozyacres.co, that's cozy with a K, acres.co, or call 815-723-9588.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows for only $14.98. It gets even better. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.98. king size only $1 more, or multi-use pillows for only $9.98. Get body pillows for $29.98 with a free pillowcase. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, kings only $1 more. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. Order $100 or more and your order ships absolutely free. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
Ready for some holiday magic? Pack up the family and cruise over to Go-Bert's Farm in Pingree Grove, where 2 incredible Christmas light shows are waiting to light up your night. First up, the Go-Bert's Christmas Drive-Thru Light Show. We're talking millions of lights synchronized to music that'll have you cranking up the volume. Picture this: dancing penguins getting their groove on, snowflakes cascading all around you, reindeer galloping through enchanted fields, plus a dazzling tunnel of lights that's pure Christmas magic. But wait, there's more. The legendary Larson Christmas Light Show, the one everyone's been raving about from Campton Hills, is now right here on the Go-Bert's property. 30 minutes of jaw-dropping lights, spectacular special effects, and surprise character visits that'll make the kids lose their minds with excitement. Here's the best part: you can experience both shows in one epic night. Perfect for families, couples, or even your company party bus. Because yes, limos and party buses are totally welcome. Per vehicle pricing keeps it affordable, but grab your tickets online now because these shows are selling fast. Visit GoBerts.com for tickets, times, and all the details. Go-Bert's Farm, where Christmas dreams come to life.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint: How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
More of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back. This is Garrett Ziegler. I am coming from the bullpen tonight to fill in for Jeannie Ives, obviously. And my next guest is Shaun Thompson. If you're listeners of this program, you obviously know who he is. He's based in Florida now, but I would say former lover of Illinois. I go back and forth whether I still love Illinois. I mean, I love my family who lives in Illinois, but one of the reasons why Illinois is in the condition that it is that you're basically renting your house from the government even after you own it, considering the scale of property taxes. And that's what we want to talk about with Shaun this evening. Shaun, like my brother-in-law, is into real estate as well. And with Mamdani and all these other people winning, I think there's probably going to be a rush. So things are going to be looking good for the Naples real estate market. But I wanted to talk to Shaun about the thing that's very topical. The vote is coming up in a couple of days, in that the entire budget for the state of Florida could be rearranged. And so to us Illinoisans who couldn't conceive of such a thing, meaning we're basically living in a techno-feudalist society where I pay $6,000 to live in a standard Tudor home a year in downstate Illinois. Can't believe what it would be in Winnetka. Tell us about what they're doing in Florida and the push to abolish state property tax and what that would mean for the budget. I know that was a compound question.
How are you, Garrett?
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Well, there's a couple of different things, right? It's going to be different depending on what your situation is with your age. They're looking for more than just a freeze, but to eliminate it if you're 65 and older. They're looking to revert it back to what you paid when you bought your property. They're looking to hamstring the government by understanding what the covenant between the consumer and government always has been in this country. And that is an ad valorem system of you're not to pay more than the value of your real estate. Mm-hmm. But in very Democrat areas, in all areas, you could argue that they're unmoored from that agreement, right? They tell you what you owe based on a theory that you have very little argument unless you hire a connected attorney.
Like Mike Madigan, who's now in the pen.
Exactly. That is a system that is built to be frauded. Right.
You know, to prep for this interview, I re-listened to your interview of Ted Dabrowski, who's obviously in the primary now, and it was a fascinating interview. I think it was back in July, and he was actually talking about Effingham because this exact thing came up in Effingham. I live in Effingham, and the Pritzker's trying to allow school districts to raise money, and of course we killed that thanks to Shannon McClurg and me and other people who signed the papers. But you're right. The compact, that's the title of this program tonight, is the MayFlower Compact to Somali money laundering. The compact is broken down, in which the state of Illinois now treats you as a perpetual renter. So just for some genealogy here, whose idea was this in Florida, or who made it to where it's now a real issue and not a pipe dream? Because I'm ignorant.
It's DeSantis that did it in conjunction with many, many people. These are conversations homeowners have had for years. And when you look at the bastardization of property taxes, why in the world would a commercial piece of real estate pay to a school system? When the problem is the perspective of the citizen is all upside down. The business is by far the most important, and in essence, commercial real estate is more important than residential, because that's where business, that's where employees, that's where merchandise is made and sold, and you could stretch that out to retail or office or whatever, but yet they encumber the commercial real estate with the costs of the schools. How did that happen? When did that happen? Well, the reason of why it happened is because people would ignore it, because they would be alleviated from a lot of the pressure of the cost of schools. Well, commercial puts it into the mix of what their product is. They put it into the mix of what their profit is. So it's been hidden for years, when the argument is it should have never happened in the first place. Commercial real estate should not be at all contributing to the cost of education. Why? That is completely how it even was attached to real estate taxes in the first place is an insane agreement. But we deal with the problems we are given rather than go back to look at how they were bastardized and how they were set up to be corrupted. So now the chicken has come home to roost, right? We are in the cul-de-sac of serfdom. The costs are parabolic. They are insane. There's commercial real estate out there in mediocre neighborhoods, from my old neighborhood in Melrose Park all the way up to the Wisconsin line and all around the state. That is insane. You have commercial real estate paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in property taxes.
And that's why they did hire the crooks of Madigan and Burke, because they would appeal it, and they knew buddies on the appeal board. It's disgusting.
And that's the flaw, right? Because you want to get what's best for you. You want to go down. So you tell me what the rig system is, and I'll partake in it. But think about what we're talking about when you think about what commercial is. Well, let's take a small factory. I don't care what you name it. Pick a factory, widgets. That factory may employ 30 people. It already is paying employment tax. It already is paying Social Security. It already is paying workman's comp. It's paying all of those things. And on top of it, it pays for the schools and their property taxes. So now you've got this place that is now paying $200,000 a year that has to fire 4 people to pay the property taxes. So it's a system built to destroy the quality of business. This is what is happening in the year 2025. So now those businesses leave, they vacate. In most cases, they abandon them because of the cost of taxes erodes the value of the asset. So the problem you see in Chicago, in Cook County specifically, and soon all around if it's not already hitting, is that businessmen are businessmen for a reason. Here are the keys. Commercial real estate has a deed in lieu clause. So you could take keys. I don't even have to sell my property. Here's the bank. I'm held harmless. You can't come after me. I close the LLC. Now it's your problem. So what happens after time is they start to say, we're not collecting any real estate taxes from these guys who we counted on being a sucker. We counted and banked on them always paying it and being a pigeon. So now they have to revert, especially in Cook County, back to the homeowner. And the homeowners don't like that. Because they feel, and you could argue that those are already exorbitant taxes, of which they are, because they're not based on the ad valorem system.
Yes.
So this is something you recognized, I recognized, you recognized, our parents recognized it 30 years ago. Now it's at a system where it's undeniably unfair and unjust and abusive.
And at the other end of that tug of war, though, is the education cartel. And that's that demand, that cartel, like a vacuum, sucks up so much funds that you can't, meaning that if you just did the right thing and pulled the rug out from under the property tax system, meaning that you wouldn't just simply the budget would go down, the revenues would drop. You'd have that cartel, up your rear end, and then with them buying a portion of the Democrat Party in Illinois, they're going to do the bidding of that cartel. So to me, once I follow this to the third and fourth order consequences, at the base of this, wouldn't you agree that yes, it is property tax, but part of it is this education cartel at the very end, who like a vacuum sucks up so many funds, and hardly anybody calls it a cartel. I was talking to Jeannie this weekend. We have to start using the word cartel because it invokes 70s lines for gas and stuff, and I think it's exactly what Chicago Teachers Union, CTU, it is a cartel.
Well, it's set up to profit from failure. The worse it does, the more money it gets. It's an insane system with zero repercussions. There are no consequences. The entire teachers unions in general should be sued for malpractice. But instead, the worse they do, the dumber the kids, the dumber the teachers, the higher the cost. $30,000+ a year per pupil in Chicago, whether they're citizens, non-citizen, whether they go, whether they don't go. And what's the biggest problem in Chicago? The lazy, fracking teachers don't even go to school.
That is fascinating.
The absentee, it's insanity. So what is going to be the
hardly ever hear
repercussion?
about that.
Listen to the political whore. What is the repercussion? More money, more investment. Listen, the writing is on the wall. Unless you hate your money, you cannot put it in Illinois. You cannot buy real estate in Illinois. And what I'm saying is not scandalous. You know who used to say this? In the beginning of real estate investment trusts, they used to call them real estate syndicates, ironically enough.
I only know them as REIT, but I was born in 1996. But I know the REIT acronym, but I didn't know the one you said earlier. What's
For 30 years, real estate investment trusts, real estate syndicates, as they were originally known.
Yes, syndicates, sorry.
Did not touch real estate in Chicago. You know who buys Chicago real estate? People out of necessity and people who are in on the scam. In Chicago proper, in the Loop, 6 out of 10 of those landlords hired Ed Burke or Mike Madigan.
Can you give us names? Because I'm a downstater. I'm from Effingham, but I like proper nouns so that I can go back and our listeners can go back and research these
Their names
folks.
are held in groups, and there are different groups. There are different LLCs. There are specific to each property. We just had the building sell on State Street for a 64% loss in 7 years.
Yeah, there's like three layers of obfuscation between the LLCs. But any names that I could then with PIs furry out and just dig into more.
I mean, like, for instance, that article that is written, I actually have it on my phone, if you give me that article that is written about that property, it mentions the name of the people who sold the land, the building for the 64% loss. So when you think about it, the address on that is 125 South Wacker.
Wacker, yeah, once you said that.
125 South Wacker, and it's Menchie Properties paid $51.5 million. That's who bought it. The seller on it in 2017 paid $145 million. So who do you think lost that money? The way that it's done, the way that real estate lending is done, who knows how they borrowed the money, how they originally put it together. But a variety of different funds.
It's a shell game of banks.
It's different funds, a couple of different banks. But ultimately what happens is the government eats a broader part, meaning the guy who could never afford to park his car in that garage of that building. That's who ultimately gets paid, gets the money from. So what you have is you have so many different layers of arm's length loss. Nobody really cares if they take it. And that's the problem of going back to 2008. Think about what happened in the collapse of 2008. 9% of mortgages were delinquent. That's it. 9% of mortgages tore down the entire
for commercial or residential or combined?
For residential.
Yeah.
For residential. So 9% tore down and created the housing collapse. How did that happen? Because in the different ways in which they bastardized the risk.
Mm-hmm.
So different hedge funds, different 401ks, different municipal funds, all bought into misdiagnosed, misassumed risk, because the rating agencies at that time were owned, some of them by lenders, some of them by hedge funds.
Conflict of interest.
Of course it is. So you buy the rating agency, they package C and D risk lending in with A, and when it starts to pull down, it pulls down A, which is supposed to be the most stable. So you're losing on municipal pensions, you're losing on 401ks, you're losing on places where risk was not put. Those are not high risk loans. If they were high risk loans, put in low risk loans.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got and instead of going through it and prosecuting the people who perpetrated the crimes, what did they do? They prosecuted the system, the greatest system in the world, the youngest country in and the highest quality of life and the richest, for the ordinary man, not the rich people, the ordinary man. So you destroyed the entire. You tried to write a check. This was George Bush. Tried to write a check to cover up the problem rather than dissect it, rather than go back to the 90s.
Kicking the can down the road.
They started to sell the idea everybody should get a home. This is the other part of the conversation you must have.
Yes.
If you're going to buy real estate in a red state that's well run with no unions, no teacher unions, no municipal worker unions, and you look at the difference in the trajectory of real estate stabilized and increased prices versus a blue state tied to this kind of corruption, this kind of loss. So why would somebody pay the same interest rate on a mortgage in a well-run state that you pay in a mafia state like Illinois?
Yeah.
See, but the system is set up to where you all have to feel equal. And no matter where you borrow money, everybody has the same rate. You fluctuated on credit when the reality is you should pay different on risk.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. That's how it works in the real world. But they took away all of those premises. So now they try to buffer the costs on everybody. And you're seeing an awakening.
And the public gets left holding the bag.
Of course, and then in areas where they use the property owners to penalize, when they use them to score contracts that should never have been scored or created, when you use them to pay $30,000 per pupil, it starts to break.
Yeah. Whereas the real cost, we're looking at classical schools right now, the real cost is about $7,000 for private education. The fact that it's 30 in public is a joke. Hey, Shaun, it's been I loved meeting you. Hopefully we can connect offline.
Absolutely.
Thanks for talking to the bullpen guy today.
Absolutely. You take care.
Godspeed.
Your local State Farm agent, Anthony DeGrotto, combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. You can combine your home, auto, and life insurance to not only save you money, but give you the peace of mind you've been looking for. Anthony DeGrotto is your go-to agent in Chicagoland. He and his team will work for you to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance today. Anthony DeGrotto will help you mix and match things perfectly. His State Farm office is a top pick 2024 Daily Herald Reader's Choice Award winner. He's a proud supporter of Tunnel to Towers and like-minded as you. His State Farm agency is currently looking to add members at their Roselle office. Call Anthony at 847-895-1500 today or visit DeGrottoSF.com. That's DeGrottoSF.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
In today's fast-paced world, professionals face endless projects, deadlines, competition. To thrive, you need mental clarity, sharp focus, and reliable memory. That's why the same company that brings you Relief Factor created Think Factor. Think Factor is designed to help you think clearer and perform better daily. It's a powerful blend of nutrients that supercharges your memory and sharpens your focus. You can stay on top of your work and outshine the competition. After a couple of weeks of taking Think Factor, I noticed a dramatic difference in my clarity, my focus, even my memory. And you know what? The longer you take Think Factor, the better the results are. If you've ever felt mentally foggy or struggled to keep up with everything on your plate, well, Think Factor can help you reclaim your cognitive edge and thrive in your life. Call 800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. Call 800-4RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com. Your first bottle, just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily.
The guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, president of Leaf Filter, gets a lot of interesting calls to his office when folks are ready to tackle their gutters. He's also got a special Black Friday offer.
Hey everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well,
I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back. This is Garrett Ziegler, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, the year of our Lord 2025. And I wanted to remind everybody that we've been celebrating this on this continent now for 404 years. It's obviously an extraordinary amount of time. The oldest, besides Christmas basically, and Easter, the oldest holiday we Americans have. Obviously, they weren't called Americans at the time. They were still British subjects. But nevertheless, I think it's very good every year to go back to the source documents and remember what they were thanking God for and who they were, what they were about. And I think the first thing that will happen is you'll recognize how far we've degenerated. Again, as I said at the start of the show, this was the MayFlower Compact obviously was before the first Thanksgiving. The first Thanksgiving was in 1621. The Mayflower Compact was in 1620. They were thanking God for keeping him alive that first year. As you know, an extraordinary amount, a percentage of the travelers perished. Dysentery, starvation, everything. It was terrible. The elements were harsh. They're still harsh today. We just thank God for our modern amenities. I mean, I can't imagine being out there in the elements without proper clothing and what have you. But I wanted to read a portion of this because I think that it draws us back. Of course, these are subjects, so some of the language in the Mayflower Compact, and it's only one paragraph, but some of the language in here, of course, to Americans, people who do not have a sovereign, my only sovereign is Jesus Christ. To people who don't have a sovereign, it's a little unsettling to think about and to say, right? But the context is they're British subjects. They're establishing a colony among savagery, basically. people without technology, people without a vast written language. So they're in this new continent of savagery, and they are in the bottom of a ship. These are the people who have survived the trip. Dead people have been they threw them overboard. They were buried at sea, and I just want to read this to you after the break. I think that it's good to go back every single year and go back to our history. And one of my ancestors is on the list, so I have a personal point of privilege in reading this.
Why are you wearing tuxedo pants with a polo shirt?
Because of Penny Mustard's new Izzy Major counter table.
It's a real showstopper.
Sophisticrafted with locally forged iron and sturdy glass.
Yeah, the glass is so clear, your dinner companions can see your lower half.
Ah, that's why you're wearing
fancy pants.
The Izzy Major counter table, American-made, with a unique iron and glass design, paired with 4 stools, and starting at just $57.10 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app.
A tremendous amount of progress. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. That's how Secretary of State Marco Rubio describes today's Ukraine peace talks in Geneva.
We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now, point by point, and I think we've made good progress.
Rubio speaking to reporters in Geneva, where he and other delegates from the U.S., Ukraine, and several European countries are trying to finalize a peace plan.
This continues to be a working process. I don't want to declare victory or finality here. There's still some work to be done, but we are much further ahead today at this time than we were when we began this morning and where we were a week ago for certain.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that there were signs that the Trump team is hearing them. Earlier, Ukraine and its European allies had expressed concern over the leaked proposals seen as clearly favoring Russia and actually being a Russian wish list. Israel conducted strikes in Lebanon today for the first time since June, and it says that it killed Hezbollah's chief of staff. The Iran-backed militant group has not confirmed that, though. President Trump criticized Democrats who made a video urging military service members not to follow illegal orders. The president called that message seditious and punishable by death. One of those Democrats, Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado, reacts on CBS's Face the Nation.
It's very disturbing stuff when you have the president of the United States threatening to execute and to hang and to arrest using this rhetoric. People listen to it.
And the White House later walked back President Trump's comments. And a gunman who killed a Florida deputy last week has died from his injuries received in that confrontation. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 38. Expect some sunshine on Monday, then turning cloudy with a high of 54. Monday night will bring periods of rain with a low of 47. Tuesday will start with occasional morning rain, turning mostly cloudy with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Hut, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from MayFlower.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows for only $14.98. It gets even better. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more, or multi-use pillows for only $9.98. Get body pillows for $29.98 with a free pillowcase. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. Order $100 or more and your order ships absolutely free. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026.
The Liberty Cigar Company was founded with one mission in mind: to tell America's magnificent story. We pay homage to the seminal people in American history by way of a meticulously crafted premium cigar, custom blended to match the personality of the one so honored. This holiday season, give your special someone the gift of history, as told by a Liberty cigar. Every box is beautifully gift wrapped at no charge. Check out all our cigar collections at libertycigars.com. That's libertycigars.com, where every cigar has a story to tell.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Good evening. Top of the hour. Welcome. This is Garrett Ziegler filling in for Jeannie Ives. I'm an Effingham native, so downstate Illinois. And my next guest is somebody that I have had the pleasure of knowing for over 4 years now. The panel that Jeannie Ives organized last year was one of the best that I've been on in November of 2024. Col Ron Scott and Jeannie were there, and Ron Scott, as I mentioned at the top of the 7 o'clock hour, former active, obviously retired now, Air Force colonel, was the head of the Air Force Operations Center at the Pentagon. He'll correct me if I got one of those words wrong. I know it was at the Pentagon, and I know it was an operations center. But also, the reason why I know him personally is because he is the uncle of a hero, John Paul MacIsaac, somebody who courageously came forward when he saw numerous felonies on the Biden laptop. Colonel Scott's nephew has owned a Apple repair store in Delaware for years. He's legally blind, and so he's he fulfilling his vocation and what he can do. He became an expert at Macs, and Hunter Biden went into the shop, dropped it off. And if you don't know the backstory, if you don't know the history, go to Marco Polo's website, marcopolo501c3.org, and read the whole book. There's 30 pages on this backstory. There's a timeline. At the end of the book, we actually acknowledge Ron Scott by name for all of his conversations and talking with me. So, Colonel Scott, I must say, the Fox News interregnum, I don't know if you were listening, but the Fox News interregnum before we started this segment, I disagreed with it. The woman said she mischaracterized what these people did. And it's no surprise that we disagree with Fox News. I personally loathe Fox News. But how about you set the listener straight and tell them what this exercise was? I personally think it was just knifing Trump. And of course, the military doesn't say an allegiance to the president. That's ridiculous. He's their commander, but you only swear an allegiance to the Constitution. So take our listeners through that. Who was behind this shindig, and how should they think about these sorts of political stunts?
Hey, Garrett, first of all, I apologize for my laryngitis.
Oh.
I was on a speaking tour in Ohio, and I think I talked too much. So,
well, hey, that's the, at least you're doing something productive while you got it. Sometimes I just get sick because my preschooler comes home, and preschools are like a petri dish. So at least you were on a speaking tour when you got sick, but I can still hear you clearly. What were you doing? Were you with Stars in Ohio?
We were invited to deliver our American Creed Threatened by Radical Ideology presentation. And if you go to our website, starswith2rs.us, you'll see a listing of the American Creed, and the audience can get a flavor for it by just clicking on it and looking at some of our presentations. But we're being invited to present this nationwide. But back to your question about what happened recently, we have some individuals that came out and generated some controversy by suggesting military members should not obey illegal orders. Wow, that's very powerful, and they're exactly right. We should not be doing that. But why would they come out and say something like that without giving in any evidence of illegal orders that have been issued? So what they're trying to do is to generate confusion and distrust within the ranks. And one of the areas happens to be with the narco business in the Caribbean. Some people are saying what the president is doing there is illegal. Well, it's not illegal, number one. But number two, the fact that these elected officials came together and agreed to give a presentation where I think it was 6 of them, they came out saying that our military people should not obey illegal orders is, by definition, a conspiracy. They collaborated together to come out to give this message. Mm-hmm. And so the question that people should be asking is, why did they do that? If they didn't offer any specific examples of unlawful orders, then what they are doing is what would be considered by definition seditious behavior. It's by definition.
Yes, and the onus is on, and this is all throughout our Marco Polo report, and it's why I like talking to you, is because when you make statements, the onus is on the person making the statement to buttress it with evidence. So they're the ones who did all this shindig and got their press folks together and got all their microphones and cameras out and put the lights on them, and they're going to make this statement. And yet, like you said, there's no meat on the bones there. Precisely what part of taking out narco traffickers is illegal in international waters when we know that 100,000 U.S. parents have held, their teenager in their arms who's dead from a fentanyl overdose? And I don't mean to play from an emotional standpoint, but what I'm trying to say is these people have killed Americans. So the predicate's there, and yet they didn't come with any specifics.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. The elephant in the room is Maduro. When you look at what happened to Venezuela before Maduro, Venezuela was the 5th ranked nation in the world economically. It was a thriving nation. Maduro, and there's a lot of evidence to indicate that he was fraudulent in terms of how the elections were conducted to put him in power. Mm-hmm. But why are we not talking about that?
Well, and look at how ridiculous they're getting defensive over the worst human scum on the earth, Colonel. They are going to bat over drug boats with tarp over them. People who drive these boats at 3 a.m. in pitch black, meaning they're not protesting. Trump hasn't put ground troops in the middle of their city centers. These are measured attacks that have an intelligence basis, meaning they have reason to believe that there's contraband on the boat. Meaning, if they were smart, even from a purely sociopathic standpoint, you'd think that they would wait until some more extreme action would be taken, because this is clearly within the president's commander-in-chief ambit.
Right. But Garrett, let me say something. The absurdity of what we're dealing with here, when I look at these 6 elected officials and I look back over the last few years, not a single one of them questioned the illegal enforcement of this COVID vaccine mandate. It was an experimental use authorized version of the vaccine, which required informed consent, but they forced service members to take it, and over 8,000 were involuntarily separated with general discharge conditions.
It's more than the town I grew up in. It's disgusting. And Elisa Slotkin, because I like proper nouns, as I mentioned earlier in the show, one of these characters I have a particular ire for, because she's a literal CIA alum. So when I say that, it's an epithet. She was long-term CIA agent. She's now the junior senator from Michigan. Total spook. And she's very close with Devin Archer, who I don't like, who's all over the Biden laptop. We broke this story. Elisa Slotkin is a niece to Todd Slotkin, who's one of the best friends of Devin Archer. I don't know if you knew that, but basically there's 1 degree of separation between one of the people who shot this video, Colonel, and Hunter Biden. And Elisa traveled on Air Force One with Joe when he was the president, and she also went to Ukraine with him as a staffer when he was the vice president. And you were one of the first people on the globe to talk about Joe's shakedown in Ukraine because of the Blue Star Strategies memo. But, hey, after this break, I want to get into the other 5 people. If you have any other insight on who did this, what the president should do, because I'm going to send this to staffers I know. Of course, I think his statements on Truth Social were spot on. But other than that, what are some of the practical steps that we can get these people to behave and to righteously shut up and stop doing this? Stay with us.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts, or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312 827-6261.
Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a new project, or just looking for that extra edge, your brain is your most valuable asset. Now there's a way to support it every single day, Think Factor. From the makers of Relief Factor, Think Factor is built to help you stay sharp, nurture your memory, boost your attention. It unlocks the mental clarity and precision you need to stay ahead of the game, no matter the challenge. After a few weeks of taking Relief Factor, I noticed a dramatic difference in my focus, my memory, my concentration. And look, the longer you take Think Factor, the better it works. This is not a one-off. You want to take Think Factor regularly. If you're a go-getter who refuses to settle, Think Factor can help you perform at your best and keep your edge. Call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4RELIEF, or just visit ReliefFactor.com to order Think Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Your first bottle is just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily with Think Factor.
Fearless conversations and sharp analysis of the stories that matter. It's the Aaron Mullins Show, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
I do find it a little bit off-putting when someone has a history of calling others out for being complicit via their silence to then occupy that space themselves. The hypocrisy is the issue I have.
The Aaron Mullins Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Space Force Commander Matt Lohmeyer stood up against the Marxist agenda threatening our military.
Your ideology doesn't matter one bit.
Share your pronouns in your email.
He knew that if he didn't speak up, no one else was going to speak up.
Initiate difficult conversations about racial and gender barriers.
Race identity politics, critical race theory, white fragility, white guilt.
Don't miss the new movie Call Sign Courage, the Matt Lohmeyer story.
We need lethality in the military, period.
Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back. This is Garrett Ziegler. Colonel, I did not plan to have Lohmeyer's ad run when you were on. That was a happy coincidence, serendipity. Perhaps you can talk a little bit about how some of these folks are, in my opinion, striking a hard at civilian control of the military, meaning they are protesting to what a democratically elected president is doing, and then they're calling those decisions that they disagree with illegal. So essentially, Slotkin's vision of the country is that, and I'm looking through this slide deck that you put together on Stars. Everybody should go look at it. It's really a Wilsonian view of the military almost, that Slotkin knows best. The 78 million that voted for Trump, that doesn't mean anything. We know what to do with our military, and if we deem it to be illegal, it's illegal without any analysis whatsoever.
Well, I'll tell you, Garrett, 3 May 2024 was a date when the Defense Advisory Council on Diversity and Inclusion held one of their semi-annual meetings. Well, Stars pushed back on what they were doing because it was completely discriminatory to push for equity. Now, if you go to our website and you hit in the search box DACODI, DACODAI, it will take you to a web page that provides recordings of what was taking place. We were there when the chief diversity officer for the CIA boasted that he had veto authority on any nomination for promotion that did not sufficiently demonstrate a emphasis on diversity and inclusion. Veto authority.
Insanity.
Now, add to that, the 51 national security officers that came out ahead of the election when Trump was running to say that this laptop that we talked about earlier had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation tradecraft, they knew for a fact that what they were supporting was not true, but they said it. And so now you have these elected officials that come out on this little video that encourages military members not to obey illegal orders it's propaganda.
Yes. What could the president do? Let's say that you and I are in the hypothetical here. You're in the Oval with the president, and he has authority to recall retired generals who may be involved with this. Because I hope somebody FOIAs or is able to get leaks beyond in the production of this. Because I find it hard to believe it'd be just those 6 elected officials. I guarantee you, there's some left-wing nutjob retired general who's involved in either the drafting of the language that they said on air in these videos or what have you. What could the president, how can he discipline these obviously so for example, the person who spoke on 3 May 2024 that said he had veto authority, he's got to have colleagues who agree with that course of action. Maybe that person is out of the government now that Trump won the election. But what can Trump do disciplinary-wise in the military? I know there's civil service stuff, but how can we discipline these totally rogue Marxist military apparatchiks?
Well, one of the challenges we have, Garrett, is the political nature of this. And so President Trump has a lot of authority. But politically, in terms of how he goes about taking advantage or leveraging that authority, could be political suicide because the left controls the narrative. One of our advisors, Greg Salisbury, published an article in the Daily Wire on 2 October 2025 in the Daily Wire. The title of the article, it's not just the rhetoric, it's who controls the mic.
Yes.
And this PhD author indicated that the left controls 80% of the microphone. So that even if people have access to that 20%, the other 80% dominates it. And so Trump is dealing with a public narrative that is not completely honest with the American people. They pick what they're going to report, and then they slant how they report it. And that's one of the biggest challenges we're up against right now in America.
What can he do with, let's get very in the weeds here in terms of what the status is. It's sort of like, I'm a Lutheran, but I think it's the same thing with the Catholic Church as well, where clergy can retire, but they're never off the rolls per se, right? A lot of retired clergy in the LCMS, they do guest preaching, that sort of thing. That's the only analogy I can come up with for some of these retired generals, where they're never. What can you do beyond obviously recalling them? Some of these folks are very, very old. They wouldn't obviously be in any sort of combat situation. But is there any string for disciplining them? Is there a string attached that if they're a retired general, and by discipline I mean speak something publicly that is obviously against our chain of command, and the chain of command is that the American people elect the commander-in-chief. The military-industrial complex is big companies. Yes, it is, but it's also the permanent left-leaning general class that's imported this DEI nonsense into the services. In my opinion, I think you would agree with that. So, if I'm sure Lohmeyer's working on this, any insight you can provide our listeners on what the current administration can do to root this out. If you can't fire these folks or get them out of the military entirely, what can you do sanction-wise? People, advocating for anti-white racism, etc.
Yeah, that's a great question, Garrett. Number one, all retired officers are still subject to the UCMJ. So the monthly pay I receive is inactive duty pay. I mean, it's considered a pension, but I'm still obligated under the UCMJ. So is every other individual who has retired in, whether they're an officer or an enlisted, we are still subject to the UCMJ. Now, whether the defense secretary would be willing to bring somebody back on active duty to court-martial them, that becomes a challenge. And does it benefit the Department of Defense to do that? It could be, they win a battle, but, it doesn't really accomplish anything. So we are accountable. But
Yeah.
I think
you'd have to pick the most egregious, like a triage system. I'm trying to think, maybe somebody has done some research, which provisions of the UCMJ are violated when somebody takes an obviously anti-white DEI position. Are there any hooks here? Is there any UCMJ written word authority that we could use as a righteous club, if you will, a righteous legal club to these folks? Because what I'm trying to say is these folks on the Hill and some of these retired generals, they're going to keep doing it unless they face discipline. And I think the spooks who signed that laptop letter that you alluded to, they lost their security clearance. For some people, that's not much because they have enough left-wing corrupt sinecures regardless. But some people, it did hurt. And it warms my heart that they were held accountable in some way. I'm just thinking of levers of accountability for some of these military folks who don't believe, in my opinion, in civilian control of the military. It's sort of their own insular culture, and they believe the military should run the military, not elected leaders.
Well, the balance is what's good for the good order and discipline of the military. For instance, I could go in and I could politically decapitate someone, get them court-martialed, dishonorable discharge. But what does that do for the rank and file?
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't benefit them, then it's noise.
Yes.
But now we do have individuals, and again, Matt Lohmeyer is involved with one of them. But he's got to be very careful that he doesn't come across looking like he's seeking retribution for somebody that made his life very challenging.
Yes,
a lot of this stuff is playing out in a way that makes sense for the good order and discipline of the rank and file. Yeah,
I want all listeners to go look at Matt Lohmeyer, very involved with your group. And by the way, tell Greg Salisbury, I'm from Illinois as well. I say that he went to the U of I. Tell him I'd like to meet him someday, and I'm going to read what he wrote in October. Colonel Scott, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks for the time. Hope your voice heals. Thank you very much. Godspeed.
You bet. Right.
Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Expect crowded roads this week.
AAA projects at least 73 million people will travel by car. That's nearly 90% of Thanksgiving travelers this year, and that number could rise if some people get fed up with, flight delays and travel cancellations.
Fox's Christina Coleman. TSA is expecting to screen close to 18 million air travelers during the holiday. U.S. and Ukrainian officials both sounding optimistic after discussing a peace plan to end the war with Russia.
We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now point by point, and I think we've made good progress.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there's still work to do and meetings will continue, both sides describing today's talks highly productive. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Reveille. Last week, Chicago City Treasurer Melissa Conyers-Ervin said she would not be investing any of the nearly $10 billion she oversees into U.S. Treasuries. She told the city council that this was her way of getting back at Trump and that there would be no effect on taxpayers. She's wrong on both accounts. First, Trump could care less if debt-ridden, bankrupt Chicago buys U.S. bonds, as there are plenty of others who will purchase them since they give a decent return for being both secure and liquid. Second, last year, U.S. Treasuries yielded a return of 4.1%, while her investment strategy led to only an overall return of 3.6%. The Wall Street Journal said she won the contest between Dumb and Dumber. The Chicago Tribune editorial board called her out for her political stunt. Ervin is running for Congress, you see, and if you want to win a Democrat primary, then showing you are standing up to Trump for his immigration policy is an absolute must. Irwin was a backbench state rep before she got anointed to be the treasurer. She checks all the boxes: Black, female, raised by a single mother, with a master's in finance from Roosevelt University, which raises questions about the rigor of their program. Lost in the conversation is just how someone with fiduciary responsibility gets away with such unwise political statements related to investments. Business leaders, financial professionals, and business professors at our esteemed public and private institutions are silent in the face of such ineptitude, refusing to speak up and demand better stewardship of tax money when they know she has failed. Their silence is revealing, and it betrays them for the cowards they are. As a follow-up to last week, I applaud the Lawndale residents who, when they received their property tax bills, promptly torched them in a bonfire and got the media to cover it. You've got more common sense than the idiots in charge. I'm Jeannie Ives. Join me on this station Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Why wait for Black Friday when you can save every day? Hasseless Mattress is bringing back Black Friday Plus. We've gone rogue and activated Black Friday deals now through December 2nd on all Beautyrest World Class, and Beautyrest Black mattresses. You get the way low Hasseless price on all Beautyrest mattresses, plus a free adjustable base, plus free memory foam pillows, plus free next day delivery, plus employee-free, hassle-free showrooms. Not just on Black Friday, but every day now through December 2nd. Get a Queen Beautyrest Elm Cove A mattress. Other stores sell it for $1,650, but our Black Friday Plus price is just $794, plus free adjustable base, plus free memory foam pillows, plus free next day delivery, and a great night's sleep for way less. Bust down our door for Beautyrest Black Friday Plus through December 2nd at Hasseless Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at hasseless.com.
Shaun Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com, or call direct 773-255-6150.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
Good evening. Welcome back. This is Garrett Ziegler filling in for Jeannie Ives this evening. We have the Edgar County Watchdogs downstate, like me, and they always have new stories. I subscribe to their email list, which you should as well. And one of the ones that just came through, I think within the last 5 hours or so, to prepare for this, I was on their site at like 10 a.m., but I see a new one here. It concerns, I think, maybe the first federal conviction of the Dalton disaster. That I just came up with that. It's alliterative. There have been a lot of investigations, obviously, but guys, is this the first Fed who has pled guilty? I know there's been state level charges, but is this the first one? It's Lewis Lacey, former Dalton police chief, just pled guilty. And of course, you guys, one of the reasons why I love your work so much is that you attach the actual PDFs. You get into the bones of the thing, and you trust that your readers are smart enough to read the documents for themselves. And I love that. So take us through this article. What time did this come out today?
He pled guilty on Friday.
True.
Last Friday, was a couple days ago.
But I did not. I stupidly didn't subscribe to the court listener link, so I'm so glad that you put this in there.
But yes, he was caught shortly after the village administrator was indicted for bankruptcy fraud. After we notified the bankruptcy attorney that he filed a fraudulent bankruptcy claims.
So this is attributable to you. The taxpayers are getting protected because of literally a tip that you provided to the prosecutors,
Not the specific one, the one that's going to plead guilty in December. I think we can claim that one. And they might have looked at this guy after we filed a bankruptcy claim against the other guy, a fraud claim with the trustee, because both of them were essentially doing the same thing. They were not reporting their income. This guy here, the acting police chief, and they set up a separate bank account that they didn't tell the bankruptcy court that they had for his employment, his wife's employment, all in an effort to get by without paying $80,000 plus previous settlement against him in a different civil case.
So he was I'm reading this plea agreement, and he's not even sophisticated. He went to big institutions like Bank of America and Chase. You'd think that he would have been a little bit more sharp and maybe tried to hide something and have a nest egg at some community credit union. I mean, this is probably the easiest subpoena in the world for the feds.
Yeah, and he even involved himself in the disaster loans for alleged business that he had at the time, and deposited that $10,000 check into the bank account that nobody knew about.
Was the wife a co-signer on that account?
They were both on the account, but according to the plea agreement, he had control of the account. But her paycheck was also deposited into that account, and they paid their bills using that account that they never told the bankruptcy trustee that they had.
So it's going to be hard for her it would be hard for her with a straight face. Well, maybe she has no shame, but she couldn't claim innocent spouse. You know, we were the first people to discover that the father of the special counsel for Hunter Biden, David Weiss, was a massive tax cheat. And his wife, so David Weiss's mother, fought the U.S. tax court for 7 years for innocent spouse, which is a provision, right? This woman should get indicted too. Maybe they dangled the plea agreement. Maybe they got him to plead out because they said they were going to indict the wife. Do you have any inkling that was going to occur? Because it sounds like she was engaged in felonious conduct as well.
I don't know, but I'm pretty confident he had to answer some questions directed towards the rest of the administration in Dalton and Thornton Township and the rest of what Tiffany Henyard was doing. And I'm still waiting on that indictment to come down. I'm hoping it does come down sooner or later, but they typically wait till just prior to the statute of limitations is up before they do that.
Yeah, how many counts do you think that one's going to be, conservatively? I mean, because it's just low-hanging. Some of this stuff is low-hanging fruit. The work you guys have done in Dalton is just unbelievable.
Oh, with Henyard, dude.
Yeah.
I think it'll be, several dozen.
Yeah. And no shame.
You never know.
Meaning, has there been any this mafia that took over once she became mayor, and those are my words, this nonviolent mafia that took over when she was mayor, has anybody repented? Has there been any sort of, let's not even use a Christian word, has there been any apology from any of these people that, hey, we got caught with our hand in the cookie jar, we've obviously sinned? Has anybody came forward to apologize?
Well, I believe several trustees at the township, their actions indicated that they were apologetic for what they did. Keith Freeman, the former village administrator, I believe, once he was indicted for bankruptcy fraud, that I believe he flipped because it was shortly after that. I mean, we notified the bankruptcy trustee, and then it wasn't a week and a half, 2 weeks, they leveled charges against him or subpoenas. And then shortly after that, they indicted him. And then right after that, they subpoenaed a whole bunch of other records from Dalton and Thornton Township. So I'm pretty sure that when he was indicted, he said, hey, look at all this information I got to tell you. Nice. But, we can't prove any of it. So. And
I must remind listeners that you have a very recent story, too, about them owing $47,000 in attorney's fees and another FOIA lawsuit. This is just last week. You guys are busy as hell. pardon my French. Just 9 days ago, another story about Dalton not following the FOIA law. And after the break here, I want to talk about Mattoon because there seems to be, and I tried to figure out who was speaking as well. I know in the article you said it was hard to tell if it was this guy Rick Hall or their attorney. I'm trying to find out the name of the city attorney, but he obviously gave ridiculous information. They just think that this personnel file is a magic box that is untouchable to the public. It's so funny to me that these people, when they even get caught, I wonder, did you send this article to them directly so they can see this 2014 opinion from the AG that clearly lays out what you guys are saying?
No, but we did send our own FOIA for the job application with this AG opinion attached to it.
I would love to see the internal comms after they receive that. Somebody's puckering on the other line, or because they it seems to me that when I was a little kid and I got in trouble and I was really a hellion, at a certain point you just say, you know what, I screwed up. But it seems that you guys catch all of these folks, and I don't know if they just didn't go through any sort of catechesis at all, but very rarely do they just become partners with you. Like if I were a corrupt official and I was dealing with Mr. Kraft and Mr. Allen, and I knew that you guys were obviously honorable, you guys could become my best friends, right? Because you could actually teach me, me how. Yeah,
that happens a lot, and
really.
We don't write about those people because
that's why I'm ignorant about it.
They will catch hell from their other people in their public body if they were found out. So we don't write about that, but it happens a lot more often than it used to.
Well, when I discovered you back in 2021, I told Peter Schweizer, these are the best sourced guys in Illinois. And maybe that's where your sourcing is so fantastic because maybe some people have done the honorable thing and started working with you. And, sometimes that's the best documents don't always come out through FOIA. It's those inside sources. We got leaked SARS from inside JP Morgan, and that was the only way we were going to see those things. So after the break, guys, I'd like to talk about the Mattoon situation. I know we alluded to it, but maybe take the audience through exactly what occurred there, why the statement was ridiculous, and when you think you're going to get the response to that FOIA. Hopefully they don't have to, well, maybe they'll have to pay $47K. They're intransigent.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Our local hospitals are the heartbeat of our communities.
delivering critical care every hour of every day for everyone, training the next generation of caregivers. Beyond the walls, their benefit to the community is everywhere, driving the local economy and supporting local organizations, initiatives, and neighbors. Illinois Hospitals, healing communities. Learn more at team-iha.org. Sponsored by the Illinois Health and Hospital Association. Aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's hard to find a nursing home where Christ-centered care is provided. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has served the needs of seniors at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights. With chaplains on full-time duty, the Lutheran Home provides spiritual support as your loved ones confront the hard realities of aging. Our nurses will care for your bodies, and our chaplains will care for your souls. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
A voice for the new right, charting a new path forward for American conservatism. It's the Josh Hammer Show.
What is the alternative to engaging with your political opponents? To hearing out their criticism in as happy warrior-like fashion as you can have it. The day that we replace that with, God forbid, with violence, that's how republics die. There is nothing good down that road.
The Josh Hammer Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Good evening, folks. Welcome back. I'm on the Edgar County Watchdogs website right now. The title, by the way, I just saw that the article came out at 7:12 p.m. I wasn't late. I was already on the air by the time that you guys released the Lacey bit, and I just subscribed to the court listener link. But there's an article from the 16th about a motion to quash for the records for basically a dirty cop. And then on the 22nd, which is just yesterday, Matt Toon's shocking ignorance of public records laws. So take us through this one. I know we talked about it earlier, but what's the context of this meeting where they were saying it on the 18th?
Well, basically, and thanks for having us on tonight, Garrett.
No, thank you. My goodness.
The city of Mattoon, during their public meeting, I've been told it was the attorney that was speaking to this. The individual that filed the FOIA request, was denied the application for the officer. Now, what's even more ironic, and we're going to put this story up tomorrow, is the letter that this attorney issued to the individual. Within that letter, he cites a FOIA statute and gives the paragraph. And I read it, and I immediately contacted his attorney, and I said, hey, something's not right here, because this statute he's citing and quoting is no longer law. And what he did was cite a 10-year-old act that has long been since revised. So I immediately sent my FOIA request for the same application, and I said, oh, by the way, take note, the binding opinion from the AG in 2014 absolutely makes it clear this application is subject to FOIA. Well, then about 4:30 that afternoon, we got notified that the individuals were notified by the city that their FOIA response is going to be amended. So I think they got the message, but the problem is this isn't the first time this city attorney has played these fast and loose games with the way the laws are.
Do we know the name?
I will have to double check it. I don't have it in front of me, and I apologize. I didn't.
This is of Mattoon, Illinois, just for our listeners. City Attorney Mattoon, Illinois. I bet they have a fat pension. Maybe not. Maybe it's contract. Maybe. Who knows?
No, he's a contracted law firm here in the city, and this is not the first time he'll say just enough out of a statute to try to convince everybody, and that's what he did with John on the airport authority issue several years ago.
You're the worst people on planet Earth to do that to. Because you read them. You read the actual statutes. Most people, when they get cited at letters and numbers, IL, revised, they'll stop there because they'll be impressed that the person can recite something, and they don't dig further.
Well, we dug further, and trust me, it's going to be a real wake-up call for that city council, because this isn't the first time we've called this guy out for his I'll call it straight-up malfeasance.
Mm-hmm.
Malfeasance, malpractice. Bottom line is, we're going to get the records and we're going to expose them. But why are they fighting so hard to quash a subpoena for what appears to be a dirty cop? I think it was the officer actually read this individual's criminal history as some justification why he shouldn't have the record. I guess they forgot the Giglio case law and the Brady case law. You're supposed to turn over evidence on these bad cops, because if it can help the defense, they're entitled to it. Now, I'm not supporting anything the guy did, but the point is his due process rights are being violated, and there is a lawsuit over it. They're literally fighting to keep this guy's records under wraps.
Insanity. And I remember listening. I listened every week to Jeannie's show, and you were talking about the third and fourth order consequences. They're going to have to go back through every single case this guy touched, if they're honorable and follow the law. And he could taint every single one.
I've been told he is the signer in the affidavits in over 50 different cases for search warrants.
Oh my gosh. Well, the client, the person who originally submitted the FOIA, they should kindly tell their attorney, hey, work with Mr. Allen from now on. Maybe I should be paying Mr. Allen, because was that attorney going to challenge this revised statute? By the way, did you have anything to do with that 10-year-old revision occurring? Did your work spur that?
I believe that it did. Now I have to go back specifically on that one, but I'm 99% sure that was one of the things that we helped get overturned, many years ago. But all that aside, the attorney did file a FOIA lawsuit Friday afternoon on this very case.
In circuit court in Coles.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. And it's like when your 3-year-old spills a gallon of milk on the floor. That's the feeling you get in a much more serious way when a cop has touched 50 cases. I mean, the amount of hours. Do you know that's going to take, if they do the honorable thing and go through each and every case and see if he's implicated? Do you know how much that contract attorney is billing the municipality of Mattoon for this shoddy analysis?
Not yet, but we'll make that another FOIA to get to the bottom of it, because we know he's at every meeting and he's always got something to say.
Hours and hours. That's I wonder if he has any other clients. Most people in Illinois, they have a cow with a nice udder. They don't need to purchase any more cows. They don't need any more clients. Maybe he's milking this one for all she's worth. I hate to be so crass, but I mean, this is literally his job. It's one of the only probably areas of law that he really handles on a daily basis for this municipality is FOIA, public records.
Well,
the worst case scenario is if he tried to trick him, if he knew that it was overturned. Do you think he was ignorant and stupid, he didn't know that it was overturned, or do you think he knew it was overturned and just banked on the client's attorney not knowing?
I don't see how you could not know. I mean, we're not attorneys and we knew.
Yeah. You guys are exceptional at just reading the dang laws, and that's why everybody should go to, if you go to IllinoisLeaks.com or EdwardCountyWatchdogs.com, I prefer, it's a shorter name, IllinoisLeaks.com. You can subscribe to their stuff. I love your guys' government plates tool. I see a lot of vehicles up around the courthouse in Effingham. I'm always running the plates. I want everybody to know that any single public vehicle, you can run the plates, and that's just based on their FOIA. And whoever did the system of searching, please thank them, because I know that's not easy. I know our C3, it's a lot of work to create databases. So thank you guys for putting it together, and thank you for letting me pinch hit tonight for Jeannie.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Godspeed. Take care. So we are 2 minutes out. I just wanted to, because it's a holiday week, I wanted to read the MayFlower Compact to end. And again, as the title of the show denotes, contrast the language that I'm going to utter now with the leading story by Christopher Russo, and of course Fox News picked it up, so it went viral. Somali money laundering to Al-Shabaab in Minneapolis. And unlike the theft that's going on in Mattoon, which could be in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, this is millions of dollars. So in the name of God, amen. We whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our sovereign Lord King James, by the grace of God of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, King and defender of the faith, having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith, in the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do by these presents, solemnly and mutually, in the presence of God and one another, covenant and combine ourselves.
Standby generator from True Power Generator Service. Your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.